What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Open Table Sports Podcast. I'm Matt. I'm here with Mark and Dom, usually as always, but sometimes a lot of people pop in and out. We're going to get started today with the Antonio Brown controversy. Everyone knows what's going on with him, calling out old players, teammates, whatever it may be. We've seen it happen with Aaron Rodgers as well, but, mainly the talk of the NFL right now this offseason. It's kind of really not the draft. It's everything revolving around Antonio Brown. He called out Juju Smith-Schuster, saying he fumbled away the playoffs, he fumbled away the season, all this type of stuff. He wasn't nice to him or whatever. I don't know. He's kind of being an asshole about it. No one really ever did anything to him. He's kind of caused his own problems so far in the league. I mean, no one's really done anything to him. I mean, he's really, burned his own fires, I guess you could say. But I mean, Don, what do you think about this whole Antonio Brown calling people out for no reason?
Well, I think it's a joke, and I mean he just needs to move on, grow up a little bit. Just he's in Oakland now. Just accept that. No need to go back to the Steelers. He should just leave that all in the past. And Juju Smith I kind of applaud how he handled it. I think he handled it, in the best way possible. He didn't really, do too much back. Like, I would have expected Juju to kind of rant on, but kind of shut it down. And then, like, other teammates like Bell and stuff kind of stood up for him. So I think that was pretty cool. I think Brown just needs to move on. I mean, there's more to focus on than the past. And there's no reason for it. It's uncalled for.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, everyone thought it would stop once he got to Oakland. I don't know. He just thought it was like a new slate. He was gonna, be all right once he got there, and it not really getting worse. But I mean, it's just the same bullshit over and over again, fighting with players. I'm sure. I don't even know if he'll get traded again. I mean, he has 3 years on that contract with the Raiders. He didn't really sign a new contract. It's kind of the same one, just with upped money. He's just a clown. Like, there's no reason he needs to do this. I don't see it getting any better because it's not like Gruden's going to help any of it. It's not like Derek Carr is going to be the voice of reason there.
No.
I just don't see it going well. It's not like that team is going to be, a powerhouse next year where his attitude is just going to go down because of their winning. They're not going to win. I mean, yeah, they might be a sleeper team next year, but going into the season, they're not going to be looked at as, a top-tier team.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cowboys, they signed defensive end Demarcus Lawrence to a 5-year, $105 million contract extension. This is a lot of money, but he deserves it. A couple of years ago, he wasn't really looked at as a top defensive end. Really, in the past 2 years, he's made his name for what it is now. I mean, leading the league in sacks, whatever it may be. He's done it the past few years. So it's kind of interesting to see how he leads that Cowboys defense, where same thing 2-3 years ago, that defense wasn't good. Last year it was one of the best in the NFL. And coming into this year, it's going to be one of the best again, probably top 10. It's crazy how it went from one of the bottom to one of the top, just in a matter of 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it interesting for the Cowboys. Keeping that, pass rush is big for that team because that offense has its moments. So they really focus on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
That defensive line, the pass rush is really good. They've got a stellar linebacker core. It may be just a little bit at safety. That could be a problem for them. But other than that, the Cowboys have a good defense, and I think that's what they're going to have to ride. They're going to have to ride the defense. The offense isn't going to go out there every week putting up, 30 points. It's not going to happen. So it's a good contract. Now it's just that brings up the concern, next year, year after. Dak Prescott wants $27 million a year.
Cooper's got to be re-signed.
Zeke's going to need a big contract. So can the Cowboys keep up with all these guys? I don't know. But I think they got lucky with Jason Witten coming back for a year, and it's like a really small contract. So, they're kind of a little more stable at the tight end position for this year. But, they're going to have to get a good tight end to, keep up in this league.
Yeah, they this season, they know what it feels like to not have a tight end that can really do anything.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's nice that Witten is back for a year, but is he going to stay after this year? Is he going to, you don't know what he's going to do.
I mean, I like Blake Jarwin as well. I mean, he had 27 catches for 307 yards. I mean, averaging 19 yards per game, 11 per catch. That's not that bad, 3 touchdowns. I mean, in his first year in the league, that's not that bad. I mean, 307 yards on 27 catches is still pretty good for a tight end who really had to step in late in the season. So I think Witten and Jarwin, I think Jarwin's going to, gain a lot from having Witten ahead of him. But I still think, Witten, he could still produce. I mean, he's still a big body, 6'6", 260. So, I mean, it's not like he's, that small. Even in 2017, put up 560 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's not really a touchdown guy either. The most touchdowns he's had in a season is 9. But, I mean, he does have – it's not like his production was killed the last couple of years he was in the league. I mean, Witten, 560, 673, 713, 703, 851, 1,000. That's his last, 5-6 years in the league. So, I get what people are saying. He's not going to automatically, produce right away. We'll see what happens. I don't expect him to put up 700 yards. I'll probably put him at 400 or 500 for next season. He's still going to get the looks. Injury is going to be a big question for him sitting out a year. We've seen players who have sat for a while or, retired, came back and then got injured. But I do like the duo of Witten and Jarwin. It's definitely not top tier, but it's definitely about mid tier and you can hold them over. But I mean, it's not like they don't have receivers either. Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb, Alan Hearns. That's 4 good receivers right there. So I think they're set at receiver, tight end. That could hold them through the season. They have a good fullback, offensive line. It's still, even though it wasn't that good last year, they still have the talent. So I think the offense is pretty much set. Running back, I wouldn't be shocked if they took a running back later in the draft because behind Ezekiel Elliott, they have Darius Jackson. I mean, not gonna lie, I don't know who that is. He's had 6 rushes for 16 yards last year. Yeah, so no wonder we don't know who he is. But I think that offense is set. I have them winning the NFC East for next year. I just think depth at running back, maybe a tight end would be good for that team. I don't think they need it, but maybe later if someone's sitting there, it wouldn't hurt to pick them up. But then you have Witten, Jarwin, and then another tight end. Well, I don't know. I just don't think they need a tight end. Definitely a running back, though, would help. But that team is looking good, especially on the defensive side. They just need help in the secondary. Linebacker, they have a great linebacker core. Sean Lee, LVE, and then Jalen Smith. 3 great linebackers. Defensive line, looked pretty good last year. They're going to add more to it in this draft. Really, the only thing this team needs is depth at running back, 1 or 2 picks on the defensive line, 1 or 2 picks in the secondary. And they still have a little bit more cap. So, I mean, even if they wanted to have a late signing, that's still good for them. The Giants signed wide receiver Sterling Shepard to a 4-year, $41 million contract extension. Do you guys think he's going to get traded? Another one of those sign-in trades?
I really hope not.
Well, this now we have locked down Shepard for the next 5 years because it's added on to his rookie contract. I think this is a great deal for the Giants to get him for about $10 million a year. He's an all-around great receiver. He can do the slot. I'm pretty sure. He could fill in on the perimeter. Yeah. He could do it, and he's one underrated value of Sterling Shepard. He's a great run blocker.
He really is.
He'll get down the field and throw that extra block.
He's not opposed to getting down and dirty.
Yeah, no, and we saw that especially in that Washington game at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
That was a couple of his blocks gave Barkley a couple of his touchdowns, and I mean they're good. I think Shepard's going to be there. I don't think he's going to get traded. I think they got to hold what they got. I mean, I think that they can just keep Tate and Shepard for their full contracts. I mean, and then coming along, I mean, I'm sure another, we'll pick up another receiver at some point in the next year or two, whether it's the draft this year, if someone's sitting there in the mid rounds and you pick them up. If not, you still got Corey Coleman, Cody Latimer, and Benny Fowler. I think they could, slip into that 3 spot, and get adjusted to it.
Latimer and Fowler showed that last season. They can, at least be average options for a quarterback.
Yeah, and the Giants, I think they're being overlooked this season. I think people are making them out worse than what they'll actually be. I'll make a final opinion after the draft. Obviously, that first round is going to be a huge.
Yeah, for
sure. Be huge to what the future holds. And I saw the Eagles in that division. I have the Eagles right now. I think they're just the best team in that division right now. If Carson Wentz stays healthy, I think they win the division easily. If Carson Wentz gets hurt, though, they're done this time because they don't got Nick Foles to bail them out. So
yeah, that's the only reason why I don't have the Eagles. I don't think they have their secondary isn't really that great. Neither is the Cowboys, but I think Cowboys have done a good job in signings this offseason. Plus, the Eagles have lost some people on the defensive line as well. So they've lost some players in the secondary. They've lost some players in the defensive. The Eagles really haven't added that much. Yeah, they added Jordan Howard at running back, but besides that, even wide receiver, I don't see much talent for the Eagles. They have Alshon Jeffrey, but he was injured a lot last season. So, there's some top talent, but I wouldn't say there's as much depth as there used to be. Look at the team right now. Yeah, Jordan Howard, Josh Adams at running back. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's like mid-tier. I guess
Adams was okay last year.
Yeah, Adams was okay. Howard, we know what he's done the past 2 years. He hasn't really done anything. Then at wide receiver, you have Aguilar, which is, mid-tier.
We're still waiting for his breakout season.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson. Yeah, he's still a deep threat. He could run some short routes as well. I would still put him at about mid-tier. He's not what he used to be. And Alshon Jeffrey, a little bit above mid-tier. I wouldn't put him top tier. I'd put him in between. So, yeah, receivers are about mid-tier. Running backs are about mid-tier. Carson Wentz, his healthiness is definitely going to be a storyline going into the season. Tight end, they're set. They got Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Will Tye, and now Richard Rodgers as well. So they're set at tight end. Offensive line is going to be a little bit of a question. I don't even know who this guy is, and he's labeled as their top left guard. Isaac Sumalo. Don't know who that is.
He's average.
Right guard, Brandon Brooks. Yeah, we know he's, top. Left tackle, Jason Peters. Yeah, he's one of the best left tackles in the league, but his healthiness and age, he's been in the league 16 years. Usually don't see that from offensive linemen. Then you got Lane Johnson at right tackle. So, they're set at tackle. Then at center, Jason Kelsey. It's just guard. Left guard's really going to be, a problem. Defense for the Eagles, Nigel Bradham, LJ Fort, Paul Warlow, Brandon Graham as their left defensive end, Vinny Curry, Derek Barnett, Chris Long. And defensive end's not that bad. Defensive tackle, Malik Jackson and Fletcher Cox. That's probably one of the best duos in the league, to be honest. But then
have plenty of depth along the defensive line.
Yeah. The starters are pretty good. Linebacker's going to be kind of a mess for them because besides Nigel Bradham, who's pretty good, besides him, they really don't have anyone at linebacker. Defensive line, they have good depth. Not great depth, but it's, good depth. You look at the secondary, it's awful. Ronald Darby. And then other than that, it's like Jalen Mills. Other than that, I don't even know. Safety's kind of a mess for them as well. Malcolm Jenkins, yeah, he's good. He's always been healthy, never really misses games. Andrews and Dejo. And then, I don't know, that secondary's a mess. I just can't trust the Eagles' defense right now. Defensive line is good for them, but other than that, I can't really trust them. The Braves signed second baseman Ozzie Albies to a 7-year, $35 million contract extension. I couldn't really believe this when I read it because $35 million over a 7-year period.
The Braves got a steal.
Yeah, that's just I don't know how he agreed to that at all. Maybe because he's young, maybe because he's dumb. I don't know, but I don't know, it's just crazy. But Braves, as we said, past couple weeks, they have a solid, young core, which they're going to be in line for a World Series probably for the next 5 to 6 years. Because of their talent. It is an interesting signing. I don't get the money. I don't really understand that at all, but whatever floats his boat. The Cardinals, they signed third baseman Matt Carpenter to a 2-year, $39.5 million contract extension. Definitely earns that. He's a great player. I watch him a lot because I'm a Brewers fan. He does play first base a little bit, but now that I'm getting Paul Goldschmidt, he doesn't really have to play it as much. Colton Wong's having a great season as well for them. Paul DeJong, too. It's a good infield. It's a good team. There's really no problems with their lineup. The Cardinals, it's more of just their pitching. But they look solid this year. $39.5 million over 2 years is a lot for Carpenter, I think. Basically 20 per year. I don't know. That's a lot for him. I mean, he's on the older side. Yeah, he says a little bit of youth in him, but he's still on that older side, over the hump, I guess you could say. So last week, or it was still this week, but it was Monday. But we don't really think of Monday on a Friday, depending on when you're listening to this. We saw the national championship game. We saw Virginia beat Texas Tech. Really dumb decision in the end of that game. We saw, one of the Texas Tech people foul Virginia, and they made all 3 of the free throws because they got fouled on a 3-pointer. I think it was a really dumb decision. Texas Tech should have won that game, but they just made a dumb decision in the end of that game. What do you guys think about this one?
The game was back and forth. I mean, the beginning of the game, I think after 5 minutes, it was a combined total of 5 points. And everyone's sitting here, all right, first one of 30 is going to, win the game. Then, out of nowhere, just the teams got on fire. Virginia would pull ahead by 10, and then Texas Tech would answer with 3 or 4 threes in a row. And it was back and forth. And then just down the road, Virginia just held Texas Tech at the end. And Texas Tech kind of just faltered. And they had the game, and they left them wide open. Virginia open with 12 seconds left for the wide open 3, and then just the decision making the last 10 seconds for Texas Tech was just very weird. And then you looked at Virginia; they got the rebound with like 2 seconds left, and then Guy was calling for a timeout, and his teammate was throwing it to him, went out of bounds. And then just overtime, Texas Tech just couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah. Just a dumb decision. And then went in overtime, 85-77. But was this the game where they got, or was that the Auburn? That was the Auburn game where they got fouled. I thought it was the final, whatever it was. But they went in overtime, 85-77. I thought it was the other game. I didn't watch because I was in New York this weekend for WrestleMania, so I didn't watch 1 second of these games. But it was the Auburn game, whatever. So even that game, Virginia wasn't even supposed to win. Auburn was supposed to win. Can you imagine Auburn and Texas Tech in the final? That'd probably be the worst rankings ever. But whatever, Texas Tech and Virginia, they went into overtime, 85-77. Virginia won. Still a boring game regardless. I thought it was going to be way less scoring than this. I mean, I'm a Gonzaga fan. They obviously lost to Texas Tech, so I'm glad Texas Tech lost. I don't mind Virginia, but they're definitely not like an exciting team. They're more of a defensive team. But I'm surprised they won 85-77. These are 2 of the best defenses in college basketball.
The over-under was 120.
Yeah.
They shattered that, so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting game. I don't know. Just really wasn't that great of a tournament. There wasn't really that many upsets, even when there was a higher seed that beat like a lower seed, whatever, however you want to say it. Because some people think higher seed means like the 1. Some people think higher seed means the 16. Because technically higher could be the higher number, but then higher could be, bigger, like the bigger team. So some people get confused in that aspect of it. But there wasn't really that many upsets this year. Magic Johnson stepped down as the president of basketball operations with the Lakers. Kind of random. He said he wanted to have fun again. I don't know what that means. Like he can't have fun being the president of basketball operations. I mean, who wouldn't want that job? Lakers are definitely not where they want to be right now. They do need a lot of help on that team. I just don't know how people thought they would go to the playoffs with the team they had. I mean, It's just kind of crazy. Definitely random, he had like a random press conference and he's like, yeah, I'm stepping down because I want to have fun again. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
Completely out of the blue. I mean, Jeannie Buss told Magic that he could fire the entire coaching staff and hire whoever he wanted to. So, I mean, if you're president of basketball ops and you get that opportunity, I mean, you could basically just recreate the whole team if you really wanted to. And aside from LeBron and Kuzma and Bi and Lonzo, I mean, most of, if not the rest of the roster, are on 1-year deals for this season. So I mean, you basically just get to start from scratch with, I'm pretty sure, with enough cap space for at least one max player, a good solid young core of players to continue to try and build around. But that was the other thing, the development of our young players are definitely not up to what you would want after 2+ years of most of them. So, I mean, it's not the biggest loss, because he wasn't very successful with the team under his tenure. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Because the next person that's going to step up, they're either going to crush it or they're just going to, like, crushing it in a good way, or they're just going to shit the bed. There's definitely a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot of holes to fill. I mean, they traded away a lot of players, and even the players that they got back, they ended up releasing a lot of them too. And they just picked up a bunch of G League guys. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of work to do. You got to, as you said before, a lot of people on 1-year deals. So you're going to have to fill a lot of holes. There's going to be a lot of work to do. Lonzo doesn't belong on that team. I don't think Lonzo, he was worthy of whatever pick. I think it was a second pick. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Lonzo. He was very overrated.
I still think that the Lakers should have kept Russell and not drafted Lonzo, but that's just me.
It was dumb. They should have picked Tatum over Lonzo anyway. Very dumb decision. Lonzo's overrated. I think Brandon Ingram is Kuzma and Ingram, they're both very inconsistent. Like one night they can go off for like 25, then the next night they have 4. So honestly, you can't really rely on those two. The only one you can rely on is LeBron on that team. Because, Kuzma and Ingram, they could be really good when they're on. But when they're off, they're off. So you can't really rely on them on a night-to-night basis. That's why you can't really call them like all-stars yet. They can get to that form, but they need to get, help with the shooting. Because
for sure.
The players on that Lakers team cannot shoot at all.
When LeBron is your best outside shooter, that's when your team needs help.
Yeah. So we're going to go right into the NBA playoff outlook and predictions. They start tomorrow. Definitely interesting on some teams that missed out, like the Lakers. Kings were a surprising team this year. But we have Milwaukee. They clinched the top seed overall. I really didn't see that coming at all. The Warriors have the 3rd best record overall in the league. Yeah, they slacked off a little bit this year. Everyone saw it. They lost a couple close games as well. But, the matchups are definitely interesting. Milwaukee and Detroit, Orlando and Toronto, Brooklyn and Philadelphia. Brooklyn has a real-life shot to win that. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm just saying there's a shot they can.
I'm actually really looking forward to that series.
Yeah. Boston, Indiana, that's going to be really interesting. So, I mean, you really only have 2 good starting, round 1 series, Boston, Indiana, Philadelphia, and Brooklyn. I mean, Orlando, maybe they get 1 or 2 games on Toronto, but I don't really see it.
I mean, in the East where it's so top heavy, I mean, I guess that's all you can hope for is at least 1 or 2 good series because whoever is going to be the 8 and the 7 seeds, they're most likely going to get swept.
I guess you could make a play for Orlando and Toronto being a semi-decent series. I mean, but Milwaukee and Detroit, that's going to be boring. So you're looking 2 good series, maybe a 3rd one. So then you look at the Western Conference, Golden State and LA. LA actually played well, LA Clippers. They played well against Golden State this year. So, I mean, Clippers, they were, for a while, they were the 1, 2, 3 seed in there because this year you saw the West change a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
But Golden State and, LA, maybe a sweep, but LA could probably get maybe 1 or 2 games out of them. San Antonio and Denver, I don't think that's going to be a good series. Oklahoma City and Portland, that's going to be a good series. I don't think Portland has what it takes to beat them, but it'll still be good. Houston, Utah, that's going to be a really good series. I think that might be the best series of the first round of any teams. second best series probably going to be Boston, Indiana, Philadelphia, and Brooklyn. But definitely a lot of storylines headed in. Can Golden State live up to expectations? Most likely. Denver, can they give Golden State a run for their money? Portland. But really, any of these teams could probably beat Golden State, pending injuries. But still, Golden State is definitely the favorite going in. Second, you got to give it to Milwaukee or Toronto. But a lot of people said coming into the season, it's going to be Boston coming out of the East. They went 49-33 this year. They picked it up, halfway through the season, had a little bit of a run. They picked their ass up a little bit because they were shitting the bed, the first half of the year. Everyone thought they weren't even going to make the playoffs, and then they made a run. So who knows what will happen for the NBA playoffs. Usually it's the best team that wins. Usually, it's the most predictable sport for the playoffs and for the season. So it'll definitely be, not as interesting, but, we'll see what happens. So next we're going to get into probably one of the least predictable sports for the playoffs, the NHL outlook and predictions we have right now. I'm sure for the NBA, we all have Golden State. There's really not much discretion between that. I mean, so for NHL, first we'll start off with predictions, and then we'll get into a little bit of a breakdown. My prediction, I have the Lightning. I mean, yeah, they lost to the Blue Jackets, the other night, but I think that was kind of a fluke. The Blue Jackets came back. It wasn't like it was 7-2 or something like that. They won 4-3 and they came back down 3-0. So, I mean, was it really a definitive win? Yeah, it was a comeback, but it wasn't really like, what I mean? Like a let me punch you in the face win. But, I have Sharks. I have Sharks and Lightning. Hate to say it as a Kings fan, but I have Sharks and Lightning.
Yeah, so break it down. I mean, in my final, I have Nashville and Washington, actually. I've got Washington repeating. But if we look at the West, Calgary and Colorado, I have Calgary in 5. And then San Jose and Vegas, I see that one going 7, and that one going Vegas' way. And, Nashville, Dallas, I originally had 4-game sweep for Nashville, but they lost game 1. So that could go 5 or 6, I think, but Nashville will still come out on top. And I've got Winnipeg and St. Louis. I've got Winnipeg in 6. Then you go to the Eastern Conference. I had Tampa in 4, but they blew game 1. So I still think 5 or 6 Tampa. Boston, Toronto, going to go 7. I got to give the edge to Boston. And at Washington, Carolina, I have that one going 5. It could go 4 the way the last night's game went. And then Islanders, Penguins, that one went to overtime in game 1. I have that one going 7 as well, with Pittsburgh taking that in 7. You just have to have that Washington-Pittsburgh series every year. It's like a tradition in the NHL now.
Yeah, this is definitely, the least predictable sport for playoffs. You could throw in MLB behind it and then NFL. Definitely going to be interesting. I don't know about Nashville. Yeah. It's like you can't predict it. Who do you got winning, Mark, for the NHL playoffs?
I mean, I don't necessarily follow the NHL super closely, but I mean, the Lightning would be my pick.
Yeah, because they had a record season, so it's like that team you can't really throw out. Yeah. So but it's playoffs. You can predict whatever. Even any sport, you can predict everything. Look at the Mariners right now. They're doing so good. Look at the Rays, teams that are doing good, and then you look at the teams that are doing bad. Yankees, Red Sox, Astros had a little bit of a stumble in the beginning of the season. Just tons of teams that have shit the bed. Look at the Mets are doing better than people thought. Sports is just so unpredictable. That's what makes it so good, is that you can predict one thing, another thing can happen. You could be like, whatever type of thing. Yeah. So, it's just very unpredictable. So next we're going to get into the WrestleMania 35 thoughts. Oh, no, we're going to get into the NHL draft outlook and layout. I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I want to talk about WrestleMania 35 a lot. So NHL draft, we got the draft order, a couple days ago. So Dom is going to run that down for us real quick. WrestleMania 35 results.
So the top 15 were announced, and in a surprise, the top 3 that got the lottery, the Devils were 1.
They weren't even supposed to be in it, right?
They had a very low shot.
Yeah.
The Rangers got 2. That was good for the Rangers.
They were supposed to be what, like 6?
They were 6th best. The ones that got screwed, and Chicago got 3. Chicago was a couple of games out of the playoffs, and they got the 3 pick. Colorado was the one that got screwed. They had the worst record in the league, and they got the 4th pick now. Then you've got the Kings at 5, Red Wings at 6, Sabres 7, Oilers 8, Ducks 9, Vancouver 10. Then you got Philly, Minnesota, Florida, Arizona, and Montreal. So it really looks like, the Devils going to get Matt or Jack Hughes. I mean, that's just, the Devils could use that player, the center. And then the Rangers, they're going to get Kakko. It's just they need a winger, Capo Kakko. I think he has a really cool name. If he goes to the Rangers, I'm going to get his jersey, Capo Kakko. It's a really funny name. But, the Rangers need a winger. And, this is the start of the rebuild for the Rangers. And hopefully they're back, towards the top. And, maybe we get that Rangers-Kings rematch, in 5 years.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, Kings are supposed to be good this year. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be, like, in contention for the playoffs. And they just shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even get a good pick out of it.
Yeah. So next we're going to get into the WWE WrestleMania 35 results. The kickoff show, I was there in attendance. I went to NXT TakeOver Friday. Saturday I had WrestleMania Access, 1 to 5. Met some people, interviewed some people. And then later that night went to G1 Supercard of Honor at MSG. TakeOver was sold out. WrestleMania Access was sold out. G1 Supercard of Honor was sold out. WrestleMania was sold out. Raw was sold out. SmackDown wasn't sold out. There were some empty seats left, but WrestleMania was sold out. They had over 80,000 people there. Definitely, the show was better than I thought. I'll definitely say that. Cruiserweight Championship match, Tony Nese defeated Buddy Murphy to win the Cruiserweight Championship. I had Buddy Murphy winning, but Tony Nese, he's from Long Island. It was at MetLife Stadium where the Jets and Giants play. But it was definitely a good match. Carmella, she won the Women's Battle Royal. I had Asuka winning. The match wasn't really that good of quality, but whatever. Raw Tag Team Championship match, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins beat the Revival again on the kickoff show. Pretty decent match. I thought they put on, a good one. But again, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins are both from Long Island, the New York area. So again, and also Carmella, she's from Staten Island. So you saw in the kickoff show, a lot of people from New York winning. Even during the show, a good amount of people from New York won. Kind of a stupid decision. Braun Strowman won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. I had him winning that. Excuse you. Universal Championship match. This actually kicked off the show, believe it or not. Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was supposed to retain. They actually rewrote the show an hour before it started. So this match wasn't supposed to be the second to last match of the night. But then they moved it to the kickoff match, and Seth Rollins won. Wasn't really a great match. It was only like a couple minutes. So, I mean, can't really grade much on it. And then we saw AJ Styles beat Randy Orton. That was actually a pretty good match. 2 veterans of the game. Good match by them. AJ Styles actually did get injured during that match. Hopefully he'll be back soon. SmackDown Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way. The Usos retain their titles. I was really set on Ricochet and Aleister Black winning that, but they didn't, so whatever. Shane McMahon beat The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Everyone had The Miz winning, but it was kind of like a bullshit, ending. The Miz, it was actually a better match than I thought. The Miz superplexed Shane McMahon off the camera tower. There's a video right here. He superplexed him off the video tower, through some tables, and Shane McMahon pinned him because Shane fell on him and his arm somehow just on top of him. The ref counted 3, but the place went nuts for that. That was a good spot, but Shane won when he should have lost. It was kind of a bullshit, not really clean win. Women's Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way match. The Iconics won. I had the Boston Hug Connection, Sasha Banks and Bayley winning, but Iconics won, and I was actually fine with that. They deserve the titles, and, it was good for them. WWE Championship match, Kofi Kingston beat Daniel Bryan. Kofi Kingston is the first ever African-American born WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Definitely, it was a great match. Probably match of the night. Definitely a feel-good moment. Just, I thought it should have been main event, but the women main evented, whatever. I've definitely aired my grievances on that one. United States Championship match. This match didn't even last a minute, so you can't really grade it. Samoa Joe beat Rey Mysterio with the Coquina Clutch to retain his United States Championship. Can't really say much about that one. I mean, match started, Hurricane Rana into the rope, 619, caught him on the West Coast pop, threw him on the mat, Coquina Clutch. He's out. Nothing really to that match. Roman Reigns beat Drew McIntyre. Everyone knew Roman Reigns was going to win. Really stupid match. Shouldn't have been on the card. Terrible match. It shouldn't have been on the card. It was just dumb. There was over 15 matches for this card, so it was kind of grueling to sit through all this. Elias had his performance. John Cena returned as the Doctor of Thugonomics. Great segment. Go on WWE's YouTube and check it out. It was just a feel-good moment. You haven't seen the Doctor of Thugonomics in like over 10 years, so it was definitely cool to see. This was the longest match of the night. Triple H beat Batista in a nose-hold-barred match with his career on the line. This match went 25 minutes. Insane. And these guys are like 80 years old, and they definitely shouldn't have gotten that time. Baron Corbin beat Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle's last match ever. Definitely stupid they had Baron Corbin won, but I don't make the decisions. Intercontinental Championship match. Finn Balor came out as the Demon, and he beat Bobby Lashley. Another match that was like 5 minutes. Really didn't have much to it. I don't know. A lot of these matches went short, under 10 minutes. But as I said before, I don't make the decisions. In a winner-take-all triple threat match for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships, Becky Lynch beat Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair to win both the titles. Everyone knew Becky was going to win. The ending was botched. She was supposed to tap out Charlotte Flair, but instead she accidentally pinned Ronda Rousey, which sent the backstage people into an insane frenzy. Referee got fined. Some people ended up getting fired. Definitely a crazy ending to the show that ended very abruptly. So next we're going to get into the rundown because yet again, people did not send in any halftime viewer mail. Whatever, we tweeted out, we've said before, if we tweet out that halftime viewer mail tweet, we send it out actually early this week. Just make sure you send it in. Any questions you have, it could be really stupid, like who's the better player or who's the better team, who's your favorite player on the Rockies. Like it could be something stupid. Like we don't care. We just like answering your questions. The rundown, we really don't have a lot this week. We didn't even finish that. If you want to find a player of the week real quick. The Kings fired head coach Dave Jorger after 3 seasons. For some reason, they're going to target Luke Walton. I guess they don't want to make the playoffs for the next couple of years. The Grizzlies fired J.B. Bickerstaff after less than 2 seasons. He was their head coach. Celtics guard Marcus Smart will be out the first 2 rounds of the playoffs with a torn oblique on his left side if they do make it 2 rounds, maybe depending on what they do against Indiana. The Orioles signed starting pitcher Dan Straley to a 1-year contract. Juan Martin Del Potro hopes to return for the French Open. Kyle Busch won the Food City 500. What a dumb name. 500 at Bristol. Food City 500? What is Food City?
It's a supermarket. They got a sponsor.
Where do they even have those?
Down south.
Yeah. We're in Connecticut, everyone. So if you're listening, we don't know what the F those are. Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau.
DeChambeau.
All right. Co-lead the Masters at 7 down. Tiger Woods sits at, he's tied for 12th at 2 under par. Patriots re-signed kicker Steven Gostkowski to a 2-year contract. I'm surprised he was on the market for that long. But Patriots signed tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins to a 1-year contract. Pretty good signing. I mean, he could still produce. I love this next signing. Panthers signed wide receiver Chris Hogan to a 1-year contract. Panthers are going to have some good receivers this year. They're not great, but they're all pretty young and quick. So they're definitely going to have an explosive offense. And then you add in Christian McCaffrey. So it's going to be an explosive offense. The Jets, they signed running back Ty Montgomery to a 1-year contract. Ty Montgomery, a former wide receiver, but moved to running back. Him and Le'Veon Bell, that's going to be a good 1-2 combination for them. The Lions, they signed quarterback Tom Savage to be their backup. The Falcons signed defensive end Adrian Claiborne. Chiefs signed linebacker Jerry Atachu to a 1-year contract. The Dolphins signed wide receiver Ricardo Lewis to a 1-year contract. The Vikings, they signed quarterback Sean Mannion to a 1-year contract. The Ravens, they signed wide receiver Seth Roberts to a 1-year contract. And this next signing I like a lot. The Browns signed safety Morgan Burnett. Definitely an interesting signing for them because they do need depth at that safety position. But I do have them winning about like 11 games next year. I didn't even think I'd say that ever. So next, our team of the week is the Mariners, 6-0 with a plus 28 win differential. Mariners are just a crazy storyline this year. They're 13-2. They came back against the Royals last night. They won 7-6. Just insane. All their numbers. Their offense is they're first in everything in offense. So I mean, you can't really, say anything against them. Yeah, pitching isn't that great for them, but their pitching is under 4 for the first 10, 15 games of the year. If your ERA is under 4, that's pretty good. Because obviously, if you give up like 1 run in your first start, your ERA is still like pretty high. It's just like how it averages out and stuff like that. So, and then the loser of the week, the Miami Heat, they went 1-3, and they missed the playoffs when they had prime position for months. I think they were the 6th seed at one point, maybe even the 5. But they were high up, and then throughout the season, they just slowly started moving down. And just this past week, they shit the bed. But they had prime position going into this week. They were like the 7th seed. And, Angelo, who's also with us, not now, but with the Open Table Sports team, and, he's like, oh, yeah, they're going to make it. I'm like, they had a tough, couple games down the road. And I don't know. I missed out. I didn't think they would make it because of the hard stretch. But, whatever. Stat of the week. This is insane. The Warriors have a 70.4% chance to win the NBA Finals.
That means you have to split up 29.6% between 15 other teams.
That's crazy. I mean, I think the next best team is at like 6% too.
Yeah.
So it's not even like the next team is at like 40 or not 40, but like 20, something like that, like a good percentage. But I don't know, just insane. Like 70.4% chance to win the NBA Finals going into the playoffs. Even when the season started, I think they had like a 60% chance or something like that. Like that's just insane. And player of the week, I'm sure you got that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We didn't really finish that. We forgot to do this segment before we started.
So we got Daniel Vogelbach on the
I just picked him up on fantasy.
This past week he batted 10 for 23, 5 home runs, 7 runs scored, 10 RBIs. And that's 435 batting average this past week. He had a 517 on base percentage, and he had a 1,217 slugging. I mean, he's just the top part of that Mariners team that is just shocking the baseball world right now.
Even Domingo Santana, who the Brewers traded to them. I don't know, just crazy. Like, if they keep this up this year, I think I saw something like they're on pace. Something's crazy stat. They're on pace to win like some crazy amount. Yeah,
I mean, them this year, they're starting something that the Red Sox started last year. They're just tearing everybody up.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting storyline.
I'm not completely sold on them just yet because I've seen over the past couple of seasons, they're like mid-May. There have been teams that are in first place and they're doing really, really well, and then all of a sudden they just drop off the face of the earth. Like I'm pretty sure about the Mets started 12-2 last season.
Yeah. The Pirates started like 8-0 or something crazy like that.
Yeah. Last year the Angels, up until like the end of April, they were in first place in the West.
Yeah, I mean, a good test for the Mariners this weekend. They play the Astros, so that'll be a good test.
If they sweep them, I would say they're not the real deal, but it definitely hardens like what people think about them.
Yeah.
A sweep would definitely do that. If they win the series, people would be like, yeah, they're kind of real, but a sweep would definitely put the knife, to the gut for most people who say, oh, well, it's just beginning of the season. Everyone overreacts. People think the World Series is next week, but there's like 162 games, sometimes there's 163 like we saw last year with the Brewers and Cubs. Definitely going to be interesting, to see what happens with the Mariners. I mean, good thing they're not, in the Yankees division or the Red Sox or the Brewers. But the Brewers are in first place, tied with the Cardinals. The Rays are in first place. They're 10-3.
Aren't the Rays the only team in the East with a winning record?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just crazy to see. Orioles are doing better than expected. Tigers are doing better than expected. Just all these weird teams that are just doing. It's the beginning of the season, but still they're winning games. You know what I mean? Like, it's the beginning of the season, but these are teams that weren't even supposed to win 5 games in the first 2 months. So it's like, I don't know. It's just crazy. But that's it for the Open Table Sports Podcast, episode 16 now. Next week will be episode 17. Tomorrow, I'll be at Judgment Free for PAPW, doing some all-access media stuff, interviews, pictures, videos, whatever it may be. I don't know if you're going to be with me, Dom.
I'll be there.
You'll be there, Dom? All right, so we'll be doing some stuff. Dom and I, we do have a big announcement tomorrow. We'll be doing it in a special way. But tomorrow will definitely be fun. We'll be there from about 5 in the afternoon till about like 11 at night, and maybe we'll get in some Buffalo Wild Wings after.
Hey, been a little while since we've done that.
And then if you want to tag along, Mark, give some all-access media credentials, and you'll head over to some wrestling. You'll have your camera and everything. We'll be doing interviews, promos, whatever it may be. But tomorrow will definitely be fun. Judgment Free, Hudson Ave in East Haven, Connecticut. Make sure you show up. It's at the East Haven Hockey Rink. They call it the baddest arena in the Northeast. It's an actual arena. We're going to an arena tomorrow.
Okay.
Going to an arena, Dom. Have you worked in an arena before?
Not yet.
In an event? Yeah. When I was at WrestleMania, I did some backstage stuff. I don't know if I showed you the pictures from last year in New Orleans, but I told you all the people I've met. You guys have seen the pictures and all that stuff. But it's definitely fun, going backstage to these wrestling events. It's so funny because we know they're all gimmicks in wrestling. And then you go into the locker room and they're like shaking hands, doing all this fun stuff. And then they go out in the ring and then they're talking shit about each other. Yeah. And they go back and then they're like, oh, how was the match? Was I good? Yeah. It's just so funny because then they're working out their match. And we show up early for when the ring gets set up for everything. And, the guys are working out their matches. They're talking. And it's just so funny seeing all this stuff happen. I don't know. It's just funny to me. But tomorrow is definitely going to be fun. Judgment Free, PAPW. Go check it out. It's going to be a crazy card. It's going to be probably the biggest, besides Diesel Mania, that's like PAPW's WrestleMania. Yeah. But definitely tomorrow is going to be fun. We will be back next Friday. What's next Friday's date? 19th. You know what next Friday is, boys? I just thought of it. We're breaking down the NFL Draft.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be our last. It's going to be our last podcast before the NFL Draft. Yeah. So we'll be breaking that down in depth. I don't know if we'll do a special one. Do you want to do a special podcast for it?
Well, I know I won't be here next Friday.
We'll be here next Friday. So I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, but we'll try to do a special podcast for the NFL Draft. Definitely going to be crazy. I found out last night. I totally forgot. I'm going to miss the NFL Draft. Actually, that Thursday I'm going to a comedy show. I'm into like stand-up comedy a lot, so I'm going to end up missing the NFL Draft. But that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, like, retweet, subscribe, whatever it may be. We love the interactions. We love it all. Thank you for listening. We're almost at 500 followers now on the Twitter. So try to get us to 500. We love the interactions. But thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Hopefully we'll be back soon. Thank you.